I'm just trying to use reason and facts. If reason and facts don't work, then we're in deep trouble. A third of the population of this country is going to vote at all times for liberals. If you're a working man or woman, and I don't really care what you earn, they are going to vote to take more of your money. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are not enough rich people, there are not enough oil companies to confiscate all their wealth from, to pay for all this. And you really ought to put jealousy aside and start thinking about how wrong it is for the government to be stealing other people's money when it's not tolerated if citizens do it themselves. Now, among other things, Obama now has over $1 trillion in new spending proposals, if you go to his website. Almost $1.25 trillion in new spending. And he has no idea how he's going to pay for it. Closing loopholes? In other words, letting the tax increases be reinstituted that Bush cut? It's not going to be enough, as outrageous as those are, to pay for another $1 trillion on top of all the rest of it. And if we keep spending, deficit spending, borrowing money from the Chinese and the Saudis and so forth, this economy will collapse, and you'll hear these idiots on Capitol Hill whining again about what we need to do as they're cramming their little favorite projects into a crisis bill. On his website, Obama proposes, among other things, energy plan that will cost $150 billion over 10 years. A national infrastructure reinvestment bank, a new one, that'll cost $60 billion over 10 years. Early education and K through 12 spending, $18 billion a year, $72 billion over 4 years. Home foreclosure prevention fund on top of all the rest of it, another $10 billion. A national service plan where you can fund all his little buddies in Acorn and so forth, $9.5 billion a year, $14 billion over 4 years. He would increase foreign assistance by $25 billion a year, and of course, as you know, he would put in place the Global Poverty Act, which would cost another $85 billion a year through the United Nations. Obama will provide $1.5 billion to help states adopt paid leave systems. You know that family leave stuff? He will encourage them to do it. He'll provide $1 billion over 5 years for transitional jobs and career pathway programs. We have scores of these programs. He wants to increase Medicare drug spending authority by $39 billion a year, $156 billion or more over 4 years. He wants to eliminate what's called the WEP, which costs almost $33 billion a year. $33 billion over 10 years. That would be the repeal the windfall elimination provision of the government pension offset. I don't know what the hell it is, and I don't even care. He wants to create a national network of public-private business incubators, $250 million a year. He will restore funding to the Community Development Block Grant Program. Gee, I wonder who that goes to. He wants to fund $2.5 billion in additional spending per year, $10 billion over 4 years, to assist local and state governments with economic and community development activities. $200 million over 4 years to amend the Higher Education Act of 1965 to award grants to low-income secondary school juniors and seniors the cost of taking non-remedial courses. Of course, he won't do anything to improve these schools because he's in bed with the NEA. He would double federal funding for basic research, $112 billion over 4 years. He would enact the Responsible Fatherhood and Healthy Families Act, $528 million over 3 years. He would spend $500 million a year for religious organizations to help the disadvantaged. He would spend $90 million a year to double the manufacturing extension partnership, $10 billion in additional mortgage revenue bonds. He would extend trade adjustment assistance. He would double funding for the Job Access and Reverse Commute program. I don't even know what these programs are. Do you? All I know is he wants to double them, quadruple them, increase their numbers. It's on and on and on. I thought, mistakenly, that the federal government was a government of limited enumerated powers. I didn't think it could do whatever it wants to do. And this is what you get. And there's going to be more of it. You know what it is? It's called misery. Misery. Now let's be honest with ourselves, really honest with ourselves. What just happened today? Congress just passed a bill with all kinds of people supporting it. Conservatives, liberals, whatever. And they have no idea if it'll work. None. The stock market went down today. It went down. They have no idea if it'll work. And here's the kicker. If it does work, it's going to bring hundreds of billions of dollars, new dollars, into the federal government, which the federal government, I guarantee you, will not use to pay down the debt. When's the first time that's ever happened? Look at Barack Obama's list of spending. He will take that money and spend it. So once again, the left uses alarmist tactics to convince you to willingly surrender more and more of your money and liberty. And then they will take the money and fund their favorite programs and activities until they can figure out the next alarmist tactic to employ. Meanwhile, Obama runs around the country saying, people need to pay more taxes. But don't worry, I'm not going to touch you. Runs around the country. Yeah, we need more programs, even though they don't have oversight of the existing programs. Obama isn't able to comprehend what's going on. He's not trained in this. He's not that bright. But his mantra is always the same, is it not? I've got a program for you. I've got a bureaucracy for you. I've got a new tax for you. Actually, a new tax for your neighbor because you won't have to pay. Here's what the libs have figured out. If they can get close to 50% of the people in this country not paying taxes, they'll own the country. They'll own it, lock, stock, and barrel. They will own the country because they will be able to beat the hell out of the productive sector of this country over and over and over again. And the class warfare rhetoric will never die. It will always resonate with the people who don't pay taxes. So I want you to think about something. When you vote, and some of you are voting now in some of these states, under another fraudulent scheme that they've put in place, but that for another day. Who do you think you're going to be voting with? Why do you think Acorn's trying to get homeless people registered to vote? Homeless people. Do you think they have a stake in the economic system? No, they don't. I mean, they do as U.S. citizens, but they're not actively participating in it. They are getting homeless people to vote to get their vote, not to help them. They're not taking them down somewhere to get a job, to clean up. No. To some drug rehab place. No. They're taking them to register to vote. Now, this guy's an extremist. Look, Hillary Clinton's extremely liberal. I hate to tell you this. This guy is worse. He is way, way out there. I haven't even begun to read his list of spending proposals. Expand this, increase this, new program for that. And let me ask you a question on a moral level. Where does the government get off, and these politicians and bureaucrats, where do they get off telling us that they can do these things and we just need to surrender more and more of what we work for? Where's the example that they're capable of handling what they already have? Why in the hell would people who actually pay income taxes to 2/3 of the citizens of this country voluntarily vote to surrender their health care services over to the federal government? Why would you do that? Oh, I hate the insurance company. So hate them all you want. Why would you destroy the system? You think you're going to get something for free? You think it's going to be different than Canada or Britain? It's not. It won't be. There's nothing new in this philosophy. There's nothing new in this economic theory. It's as old can be. You centralize power, you centralize decision-making in the hands of a relative few, and you impose your will on the majority. That's where we're headed.